people raise their daughters or they control their daughters, but they neglect their sons, right? It's easier to raise boys because we feel like we don't have to affirm them as much. We don't have to do all of these emotional things with boys. But then how does that impact their development? Right. How does that impact their self-worth? How does that impact their perception of self, right? It is the idea, and once again, this is going back to what it is that you were talking about that invisibility, that lack of affirmation, or that lack of seeing what it is that you are doing. For Black men, that hurts more because once again, we are used to being seen as perpetually broken.
Right.
We are used to being seen as perpetually invisible. We are used to being, that's the reason why so many Black men will say, oh, y'all focus so much on the bad ones. What about the good ones? Keir Gaines said something on his podcast with his wife, Noam, and he was like, yo, being a good man is like being an A student in a class. Nobody checks on you. Nobody engages with you because they're going to assume that you're okay. They presume that, once again, I've asked the question before, when you think about your perception of a good man, when you think about your perception, that archetype about what a good man is, does that good man have any bad days? Is that good man ever injured? Does this good man have weak points? For most people, he does not. Right? Within us as men, we tend to contextualize ourselves as like, superheroes, protagonists. They call it the heterosexual hero complex, X, Y, Z, and A, B, and C, right? But once again, that's still dehumanizing. That is still removing you from your humanity. A number of men are lonely because when they are by themselves, there is nobody there to criticize them. There's nobody there to invalidate their realities. There's nobody there to say you're not doing enough. And there's nobody who is going to, conversely, there's nobody who is going to challenge me to step outside of my zone of comfort as it relates to emotional vulnerability.
That's where that hyper independence comes from.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I know if I'm alone, I have the peace of that loneliness versus having to be in a relationship or in relation with someone who is going to dehumanize me.
Yeah, but at the same time, in therapy, we ask the question, if you decide to self-isolate, are you really healed or are you just not being placed in situations that challenge you?
Say that again, brother, please.
When you self-isolate, are you really healed or are you just not being placed in spaces or positions that will challenge you? It is very easy to be by yourself because it does not require the skill of community. It does not require the skill of accountability. It does not require the skill of responsibility. It does not require you to make amends for how it is that you behaved when you were angry, right? Because a number of men, when they are angry in relationships, the way in which they mismanage that anger erodes the relationship and it damages the relationship. But what they will say in return is, because I'm a man, X, Y, Z, and A, B, and C. Because I'm a man, I have the justification, the ability, and the wherewithal to engage with this emotion in such a way where you are supposed to do what it is that I say. You are supposed to, all of these things are attempting to control and manage the environment so that you do not get your feelings hurt, so that your authority is not challenged, so that once again, in order to be a patriarch, it requires the dehumanization of everybody, including you. Because patriarchy is a system of power. But a number of Black men hold on to that so strongly because, once again, it is this belief that that is how it is that I validate or overcome this consistent perception of being perpetually deficient.
Man, brother, my Lord. We ain't gonna get through this episode.
Yes, we always do.
I don't know how we do it, bro. Because right now, I'm like, man, I know AI gonna take like 15 minutes compiling the notes. Because, man, we are touching on some topics, bro. We are touching on some topics. I want to pivot a little bit because I know there's some Black women that are watching right now that are allies, that are part of the community, that want to help Black men to win. that want to help black men heal. And they're thinking right now, okay, so how do I help the man in my life? What are some things that I should do? I want to take it from a black woman's perspective, what you think black women should do to help black men. And then I also want to say, I want you to answer from a black man's perspective, what can we do to help black men?
I feel you.
Yeah.
So I want to start with what it is that we as black men can do to help black men.
Okay.
We are more likely to minimize, invalidate, and reduce one another than women are to invalidate, reduce, and minimize us. And a number of folks are going to disagree with what it is that I say.
I was just going to say that. They're going to be like, hell no, there's no way.
I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
Right? Are you as open with your homeboys as you want to be with your woman? And immediately, I know that there's going to be, wow, well, that's my girl. She died.
Yeah, that's different.
That's different. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Why are you not talking with your homeboys? Why are you not, because they gonna call me sassy. Why is that?
Mm-hmm. A lot of them are gonna say, why would I talk to my homeboys about that?
Why wouldn't you? Why would you not? I really need you to sit and think about that. Because men don't. Why don't men do it? Why don't we do it? That's just not what men do. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why do we not have these conversations amongst ourselves? Why do we not construct these spaces amongst ourselves? Why do the Center of Trauma Training Consortium identifies a safe space as a space where you can comfortably assume that no emotional, physical, or psychological harm is going to come to you. Why do you not believe that you can create that space with your homeboys? Because the first thing that comes to your mind is sexualization. You believe that that is a homoerotic space. That is what you believe. That's a form of minimization, right? That's number one. Number two, you have internalized the narrative that your homeboys are. Did you see that clip of the Joe Budden podcast with Mark Lamont Hill and Joe Budden? And Mark Lamont Hill was talking about how it is that he was feeling depressed, and Joe Budden made a joke about it.
Nah, I didn't even peep that. That's crazy.
He made a joke about it. What you got to be depressed about, Dada? We do that shit to each other way quicker. Why? Because we are not used to sitting with our own emotions. We are so used to performing masculinity around one another in order to evaluate and assess our own masculinity that when we get to our partners, assumedly who are women, we then are dumping all of that emotional labor onto them.
Right. I haven't had the opportunity to do anywhere else.
There we go. Content creator, name is Pierre. He does a lot of work with youth around deconstructing masculinity. And he posted a clip on Instagram where, once again, on the Joe Budden podcast, I think it was an extension of the same clip, where all of the men in the room immediately turned to the only woman in the room in order to help Mark process his emotions. We are placing entirely too much emotional labor on women. Entirely too much. Way too much. Because once again, our expectations, and I did the research on this frame of reference comes from a World War II, it's either World War I or World War II. The idea that women should be safe harbors for broken men literally is wartime ideology. Because the men who were coming, and this is also the reason why we have the, I forget which act, I think it was the Rehabilitation Act, but when men were coming back from the war, men who were injured, men who were permanently disfigured, these men experienced such dispositionate mental health outcomes that they started producing, once again, propaganda, displaying women who were nurses, literally nursing these men back to health, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea was that the woman's job was to make you feel like a whole man, even though you were quite literally missing pieces of yourself. It is her job to put you back together. Even though you are more likely to be around the individuals who you went to battle with than you are with this woman. Once again, why can we not create these spaces within ourselves?
Right.
Why can we not create spaces within and for Black men that allow us to be the version of ourselves that we know that we need to be in order to, at the very least, have our humanity validated? Right? When we go around other men, we have a tendency to want our masculinity validated. But your masculinity is an extension of your humanity. It's not the entirety of it.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand.
I'm just gonna say it straight out. We need to stop behaving as if though every time we engage with one another, it gotta be some sexual shit. Like that's just an annoying thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like why do we consistently conflate intimacy with sexuality? Those are two different things. Those are two completely different things. There's intimacy, there is sensuality, and there is sexuality.
Explain the difference, please.
Intimacy is closeness. Intimacy is the ability to engage in openness, vulnerability, and safety within a particular set of people. That's intimacy. So you can have an intimate relationship with your friends. You can have an intimate relationship with your family. You can create intimacy wherever there is safety. Sensuality is engaging with the senses. It is engaging with your five senses, but it is engaging with the senses in such a way that it is pleasurable. It is regulating, and it is centering, right? So something can be sensual without it being sexual. So when you go into a restaurant that's well lit, that has great ambiance, that has amazing food, that restaurant is a sensual space. It is not sexual, but it is sensual. But this is the reason why when you go into these spaces, you usually feel more regulated, you usually feel more calm, you usually feel centered, because the environment was created to elicit that type of response.
Right.
Sexuality, once again, is the engagement in or the communication thereof around sex. And it does not necessarily have to be intercourse, but it is the concept, the idea, or the constructs around being sexual.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. A shoulder to lean on, somebody you could preach to. Know you need to hear it, my brother.